Well, hello.
Hello. Welcome back.
It's fancy meeting you here.
I'm Tara,
I'm Natalie.
and we are making a movie, and this is a podcast about us making our very first movie. Welcome back.
Ooh, our very first one. The big one.
The big one movie. All right, I'm going to quickly recap for those of you who are just now joining us on this 11th episode of our podcast. Natalie and I are longtime filmmakers. We've been making short films for years now, eight years to be exact, 20 years if you want to count all of our YouTube experience.
Content. Yeah, we've been making content for about 20. So,
Yeah. And after lots of deliberation and years of planning and thought about it, now we've thought, hey, let's actually make a feature film. So this podcast is following up behind the scenes adventure of us making our first feature film, which is called Turns Out, which is an
we're on
apocalypse buddy comedy.
we're on episode 11 and we don't have a movie yet? Like
No, no,
like
it's
this
a
seems like
fun fact. Turns out it's a long process.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boo. Boo. I want it to be
Boo.
done with already.
I'm over it. Boo. So done. All right. Before we get really, really rolling, I just want to mention that the super chats that we get here live on YouTube and all of the PayPals all go to helping us make this movie possible. We're going to take all those funds, put them in a little bank account, and we're going to use those to make it happen. If you want to be like Chicago Randy, we do have the PayPal option out there for you. If you're here in our live video and you want to super chat monies to us, also very appreciated. Thank you guys so
Heck
much
yeah.
in advance. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We mentioned this last week. We've mentioned it a couple of times in passing on previous podcast episodes. Today, we're going to delve into the magical, wonderful world of decks.
The magical, wonderful world of pitch decks. Yeah.
It's magic. Well, we've long heard this word bandied about, and we've thought, I don't really know what that is. That sounds very daunting. Uh, a couple of years ago, I actually wound up taking a class about making your first feature film, and a large portion of this was talking about the decks. Before we get into the specifics, let's talk broad. What the heck is a deck? The actual definition, and I had to write this down so that I say it all correctly. A concise, visually engaging presentation used by filmmakers to showcase their movie concept, highlight key elements like storyline, characters, visual style, aiming to persuade investors or studios to back the project. That's what a deck is.
So I mean, it's originating from the tech world. Tech world,
Mm-hmm.
when you were making new innovative products, you put together a deck to go out and get investors and such. And then there was the what was it the something the binder that's for television shows. What is that
Oh, the
called?
Bible, the show Bible.
The no, there's another word but yeah, the show Bible is
Mhm.
similar to the same thing. But they ended up combining the two
Yeah.
to then make it so you can I don't know, pitch you can pitch it. You got a
Pitch.
deck and you're
Pitch.
pitching it. I don't know. There's no sports involved, so I don't like it.
Well, yeah, as technology advanced and we got access to more things, and as I think filmmakers are having to reach out to not just studios as other investors as well, and just need to sum things up quickly and visually for people, like they took a page out of the tech world, out of the Silicon Valley guys. Like, this is a great way
Hmm.
to quickly engage you guys visually, but also with a little bit of information to try and get you to jump on board with this project. I think it's really smart because previous to this, you would just like have a couple of images, you'd have your log line and your pitch, and then you would just like go into a room with the studio execs and like pitch your heart out and hope for the best. I like this because
with
now we're
no
like,
direction.
with no direct, and that just sounds so amorphous and so like, well, I hope I'm engaging, and there's a
Right.
50-50 on that depending on how good my comedy is that day. So like
Yeah.
I do like that the like my type A personality can like hang her little hat on something. Like, well, I can do work. Like I could rehearse my pitch deck, I suppose, or my I could rehearse my pitch. But at least this is like, all right, I'm gonna have charts and graphs and
I know.
some artwork and some fonts. I love a good font. So this
Well,
makes me
so
feel like I have control.
yeah, and so I mean that's the thing is the big part of it is a visual storytelling that
Yeah.
so because we work in a visual storytelling medium, I think it's really important to be
Hmm.
able to like put it out there and show like this is the imagery that will get you in the right headspace. I can't necessarily just tell you this and get you to the right place, but I can visually show you
Hmm.
um with fonts and with color schemes and with things like that so that someone else can easily get them closer to this.
Yeah.
Um, Traditionally, they are a title card and then about 15 pages, 10 to
Hmm.
20 maximum. Um, and and they're made in a lot of ways. A lot of them are doing Canva now. So
Right. Yeah.
Canva is
Canvas are
like the
great.
go-to now for making your pitch deck because everybody's making all their visuals in
Yeah.
Canva at this point.
Yeah, that's a great. So if you're wanting to make it, or traditionally people were using just old school Microsoft PowerPoint to
Hmm.
make their decks. That's what
That's
I
the classic.
learned
Yeah.
on. Yeah, that's what I
Hmm.
learned on. Canva's amazing. There's also we ran into a cinematographer who also said that the website, I believe it's an app or a website called Shot Deck. And it's
Was
a
it?
great way to, you just plug in the movie you're looking for and you can pull frames from movies. So if you're like looking for a very specific style, tone, vibe, that's a great way to go pull imagery. Because one of the hardest things about decks when I was making more decks and building them is like finding the right free image. Especially now with watermarking and stuff, it got real tough there toward the end of my deck creation period of life. Well, not that I'm ever done making decks, but
Right.
when I was making a lot of them and making them for other people and creating them for other people's projects, that was the hardest part. Was like, I just need this I have it in my head, this very specific, photo of a kitchen, and I cannot find this image. But if you can pull up the movie in your mind, you can go find something maybe more similar. Those are two great resources. So, broad strokes here, the key elements in a deck. These are the if you go to the internet and you ask the internet, what do you need in a deck? These are the things that you need. You need a log line, you need your synopsis. So there's that whole thing we talked about last week. Character breakdowns, visual reference, a budget, team, the list of your team members, a timeline for production, comparable titles. So this is movies that are similar. Uh, and then your contact info so that someone can call you.
Yeah.
One of the things that oh, go ahead. I don't want to cut you
No, go
off.
ahead.
What was that?
No,
Oh,
go for it.
one of the things that I discovered when I first learned making decks and now revisited doing research for ourselves and for this podcast was that for a while here, the decks came into the sphere of brains. Us creative types got in there and started making, more creative decks for studios. And film schools were actually teaching their students more gearing towards pitching to a studio, which is great. That's a great skill to have, but that's not what you and I are doing. Like if we're pitching to a studio, I mean, how did we get there? More likely folks like you and I are going to be pitching to independent investors, and those independent investors are more likely not really in the film world. And so remembering to gear your deck much more to a business person's brain, to a business person's what they're going to be
I
looking for and needing, I think is really important.
I'm going to disagree slightly there because
Go
I
for it.
think anyone who's looking to invest in a film is probably looking for that experience.
Oh yeah, of
Like they're looking
course.
for the experience of doing something artsy. So
No,
I
absolutely.
don't think you should shy away from putting art behind it, but like
Oh
don't
no,
get
no.
but don't get bogged down in the terminology of the film industry and stuff like that.
Right.
Talk to them like they are not part of it, but
Yeah,
but they want to be included. That's the only reason people are investing in film
right.
right now. It's not because it's got a great ROI. It's a big crapshoot.
Yeah.
So they
It's a
they
terrible
want
ROI.
they want the experience of being part of a filmmaking process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's a very important to split the middle on that. Like
Hmm.
give them that artistic film experience, make it evoke feelings and talk in film terms, but don't make a giant lookbook and then wonder why they don't want to give you money because you didn't tell them how much money you need and then what you're going to do with your money and then when you're going to give them their money back because you
Hmm.
still need to give them that information. You still got to
Right.
put the important pieces on there. Like a lot of decks I've seen are beautiful. God, they're stunning. They're like a Taschen a coffee book, but they're not helpful in getting an investor and there's so much writing, it's overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you've told me this long, beautifully written synopsis, but my brain's overwhelmed and I just want, well, that's great. I like this, but like how much money you need, when do you need it, when you're going to make it by, like these are the
Right.
more important things to put in there as well and keep it short so that you're a confused mind says no. And so you got to not over give them the experience but don't overwhelm them with too much art.
Yeah. And then I think that's also why it's so good to have those couple elements up front in your pitch deck, the logline, the synopsis, the characters, having those, they're one page each. They can
Hmm.
flip through that if they don't give F's about it. And then having a page dedicated to each of those things that is, because
Yeah.
you are going to be trying to split the middle on that. You are going to be trying to find the people who are interested in art, but not interested in how it's made. It's really much more people who just want to be part of that world, and it's something to hang their hat on to get to say that they were an
Yeah.
investor, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of times what these investors are purchasing is
Hmm.
the experience of being an executive producer.
Yeah.
So in the research process of this, and I have to credit Joanne Butcher for this, which is the woman I took a class from in making a feature film. She turned me on to a gentleman named Ben Yenny, who's an independent filmmaker who's made several independent films. You can go check his IMDb. I will link that in the comment section of the YouTube video. So Ben Yenny has a website with a really good just breakdown on like his thought process on this, and I'm inclined to go with this idea about speaking to independent investors a little bit differently than you would to a studio exec, especially because they're going to be concerned with getting paid back and then the marketing aspect of your film, because that's not something when you're pitching to a studio you need to worry about. Studios have their own marketing teams and budgets and stuff. You don't really have to talk about like, well, how are you going to get this movie out there? Like, how are you going to get my money back? Is there a built-in audience for this? So for that deck, obviously you want the title page. And like Natalie said, this is a great place to do the art part of it, like making it, invoking a tone and a feel on your title page. In the tech world, the next page is usually like the project overview. And that's where you'll put your like your log line and your genre of your film. So like quickly sum up that 25 word sentence and then what genre this is. Um, then you want to cover in the tech world, the next page is usually next page. The next step is really defining what the problem that your product is solving.
Hmm.
And so for us as filmmakers, why do we need to make this film? Um, one of the approaches you could say is like, there's not enough family friendly movies out there, and we're going to fill that gap. Or like for you and me, I think we're going to reach a point where there's not enough funny content about two women in this very specific genre, this like
Hmm.
survivalist genre that's funny. And that's, I think, specifically what you and I are feeling and how we'll probably pitch it to companies who make bunkers and stuff is like
Yeah.
a lot of great serious movies about it, which is great, really male heavy. But what about reaching your female demographic of purchasing your products?
Not just that, it's having, I think our big one is having something attached to your brand that is not negative. Like the first part what you're saying there is
Oh yeah.
like that this is
Yeah.
something lighthearted that is attached to your brand. So when people think of your brand, they don't think of doom and gloom. They think of it, it actually makes them a little bit warmer. So that's our
Yeah.
pitch to
Oh
investors
yeah.
for why they should invest in this film
Yes, exactly. And that's why
in
for
that world.
us, so like So like your next page wants to be like, why does this movie need to get made? So for us, that's us. Um, and then why we want to follow that up with why we're the people to tell this project. Why are we the ones to do this? So for you and I,
It's because we're
it's
funny.
well, we're funny. We're very cute. We're very
We're
funny
funny.
and cute. But also specifically, Natalie, you genuinely organically come from this world. Like your boyfriend is very into the prepper community stuff. You come with a wealth of knowledge about this stuff. We're not just like two
Hmm.
funny gals who thought it was funny and cool to talk about prepper stuff. No, you genuinely understand this world. And now after writing this
Hmm.
project with you for years, I genuinely care about prepping stuff because I do think it's important. After going
Hmm.
through the fires this last year, I'm like, I have a bug out box, I got a bag, I'm ready
Hmm.
for disaster. Like you and I, we're not just phoning this in or doing research. We actually care about this stuff. Like this stuff actually is interesting and fun. I mean, you and I have eaten MREs many
Just
times
for
now,
funsies.
just for
Yeah,
the
just
fun
for
of,
funsies.
and put it on camera because we thought that'd be fun. Um, there's also, so after you've defined like why we're the ones to do this, you want to talk about what the opportunity is for this. Like, and this is covering the niche communities, the size of your market, and like for you and I, this is definitely a niche. Like it's a very clear niche community that also isn't getting as much content about this specific category in the specific way.
It has
So
a
the oppor
very specific audience
oh
that's
yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. So if you had a movie about like reaching into my own personal things I care about, if you had a movie about, oh no, Lego's already been done. I was like a Lego movie, but like a different kind of
Hmm.
Lego movie. Like that's my interest. That's a very strong niche community. The D&D movie that came out, that's a very niche, specific community that would love to see movies about themselves.
Hmm.
Like
It's
anytime
a
you
built-in
have,
audience.
yeah, built-in audience. Anytime you have like a niche, something like that, that's kind of where you want to like lean into with your opportunities. Like who out there are we already going to be selling this? If you had a bicycle movie, that's a very rabid community of people. Like they are very into bicycles.
Yeah, okay, so the one thing I will say with all of this in mind and this person's deck
Hmm.
approach, like I understand this when it comes to being on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
However, for a comedy, I don't really necessarily fully agree. Like, I
Hmm.
think if you were making a documentary or about bicycles and why the bicycle story needs to be told and whatever,
Hmm.
but comedy, I just always feel very differently about comedy. You want people who want to help you make people laugh. It's a very
Yeah.
different. I mean, who you're pitching to is and how you're going to pitch it is going to change based on the genre, based on
Oh, absolutely.
who you're reaching out to,
Hmm.
what your ask is. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like there are often things within your project that you may not even realize are a thing.
Right.
But yeah, generally comedy. Like if you had to pitch The Hangover, that's a little harder until you get names on it. Like what's the niche opportunity here? Other than like, hey, we haven't had a great four male comedy in a while, or four man comedies are really popular right now. Let's jump on that wave of like this thing is hot.
Well, the one deck that I saw that we'll go ahead and link. I don't remember who it was. I just randomly found it on some site, and it was somebody sharing their deck for for a feature that they made. And I just thought it was fantastic because one, it just visually invoked. But this is coming from an artist side. Going, would I want to be attached to that project? Absolutely, 100%. Would I give money to it on a Kickstarter? Absolutely, it sounds good. But their page of similar films, one
Hmm.
of the things that they did was show the box office for those found footage similar films,
Yeah.
and just showing this is how many people watch this. This is how many, I
Hmm.
mean, bought tickets. This was the box office on this one. This was the blah, blah. And that is such a big, like, oh, there
Oh
is a
yeah, yeah.
huge market for this right now.
Yeah.
And so having those comparable films and also being able to tell a investor how much they made back, even if it's just
Hmm.
going to now you're like, your plan is it's only going to make it to Tubi. But what can that
Yeah,
bring
but
in?
that's a
Can
thing.
that bring
Yeah.
money in? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'll get to comps in a second here. That's definitely a whole part of this. There's another part for Binyani. There's like the unique competitive advantage, and I just think that's way too similar to opportunity. But again, it's just showing like what the specific, how you're standing out from the pack of other films, how your product, for lack of a better word, is gonna do this the best. So like for you and I, like we're gonna stand out because we're two women doing it funny. Like that's what's different about our apocalypse film versus any other apocalypse
Mm-hmm.
film, is that it's funny, and that's not common. And we're framing everything in this positive, happy light. Like that's what we're going for. Uh, then you want to kind of talk about your distribution strategy. And can be a little bit more difficult, especially if it's your first time ever doing this part of it. So it you're gonna have to just kind of, if it's your first feature film and you've never gone through distribution before, like it's almost a giant question mark. But like you were saying, Tubi, where do we think that this movie would fit well? Is it Tubi, which
Mm-hmm.
is great actually because Tubi's growing in popularity. Are we going to put this up on Apple streaming and do it ourselves? Are we going to seek out distribution companies to distribute the film, which is also an option? If you're a horror film, that's a great way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and is your plan to find a sales agent in the US? Like these are like forward questions that I, as an artist, am not always great at thinking ahead. Like, I'm going to make a movie. Like, that's great. But then what? Then what's the plan? And you can kind of like, you don't have to have a definitive answer here because, again, you're going to have to make it and get it to these distribution companies first to figure that answer out. But you kind of got to have like a somewhat plan of like what we're going to do. And then after that, that's competitive analysis is the next one. So, uh, the best ones I've seen from my own taste doing competitive analysis is finding 3 to 5 max films that have been made in the last 3 to 5 years. You want things that are recent because
Mm-hmm.
that's going to show that the market is working currently for this movie that you're going to make. You are going to,
Mm-hmm.
this is like currently what people are wanting to go to the movies for.
I will say, I'll interject though.
Yeah,
However,
go
if
for it.
you feel like if your story is that, I mean, um, if part of your selling point is that we haven't had a Star Wars since Star Wars, and
Yeah.
this is a Star Wars, like you go,
Hmm.
Star Wars did this, and we have had there's this whole world out there that's not getting served. This is the potential market for that. So you might not have something that's comparable in that moment, and that might be your big sell point is that
Exactly. Yeah.
no
Very
one is
true.
making stuff like this. So
Hmm.
the only thing we have to compare it to is Citizen Kane. Remember how big
Remember the
Wizard of Oz
classic?
was?
Remember, but it's very true. Like, I'm sure part of making Wicked, to pull from that, is that we haven't had a great blockbuster musical in a while.
Hmm.
We're probably due for this one, even though that's a
So
different machine
no, but
entirely.
so
But
what you
yeah,
would do on
but
that comp page, if you had that, would be talking about how big the last one was, even though it was
hmm
15 years ago, and how much money Wicked has made over the years. Like, because I mean,
yeah,
even though that is like Wicked is continuously selling out audiences, blah, blah, blah.
right.
You talk about your two leads and how much money their last blockbuster made. So there's a built in
Hmm.
audience of whatever, cha, 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 cha. Yeah, so it is like
Yeah.
again, that's the crazy thing about all of this is that it's going to be different for every single thing you do. No deck
Oh
is going
yeah.
to be the same.
No.
No, no, even within each project it being different, within that project, you are talking to a different audience every time you bring them their deck, and you need
Every
to
time.
be aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Every deck you make is going to be for a different audience member. Like, so this deck
Hmm.
that I'm talking right now, like this one to me is the one that I'm most concerned with at the moment because this deck I'm specifically thinking of independent investors and companies that I'd love to get signed on to help us with the monies making part. So
Hmm.
this deck is specifically for that. If we were trying to get a DP on, I would want a much more creative deck. I would definitely want more of a director's lookbook to get a really talented DP on board because they're so inspired by the imagery that my director is looking at and wanting,
Hmm.
and then show them a little bit of like, yeah, we have a plan for distribution and we have a plan. There is an audience for this, but I'm not going to go into the financials, which is like, and
So yeah, so on that note though, like when you're going into like an independent investor, So my thought process would be if you're going to someone who invests on a general base, like someone who does investing, then yes, then I
Yeah.
want something that looks more like the investor books that they normally look at. But if it's
hmm
someone who's like a first time investor who's doing this as a one off, then
hmm
I want to give them something actually more like the DPs, I would think, because you are trying to sell them on making a movie. You're
Yeah.
like that's exactly that same, like it's part of the experience
Yeah. The
versus like
experience part.
someone who invests in things does not care about their what they want the ROI page and that's it.
Yeah,
Like
probably.
you
Yeah.
your one sheet is going to be very different.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're giving this to an investor who's like an investor kind of person, you can be a little shorter on the next couple of pages I'm about to talk about. So the financial part of things, you can just do your major line items from your top sheet, like give them that basic overall budget of what's going on. Give them a basic timeline of like, when are we going into production? When are we going into post production? When are we planning on putting this into distribution or film festival? What's the film festival approach? And then maybe, and you don't have to do this. This is mostly going to be on like your business pitch decks with the guys who are like more like real movie investors, is the waterfall of like, then the waterfall is a shorthand for when everyone gets paid back. So who gets paid back first, who gets paid back second. If we're going to a distribution company, like if then we need to get they get their 30% first, then you the investor go next, and then I the filmmaker go third, kind of a thing. So that's you don't need that waterfall process for like someone who's their first time investing in a film. You more want to inspire them that to be a part of a filmmaking process, but show them that you are going to be responsible and a good steward of their money and not just waste it on
Mhm.
crafty, which is where I want to
Yeah.
spend all my money is crafty on foodsies. And then after that, it's important to just cover like the current status of your film, which is going to be constantly changing. You're constantly going to be updating your current status page, like because you'll get a new investor. We have this much money in the bank now, this many team members. We're this much closer
Mhm.
to making the project happen. Um, and then you, of course, you want to cover your team, and it's great if you've got like name talent on your team sheet. Like for me, I'm like I'm a quote unquote nobody. So like yeah, I put my picture on there or whatever. I've seen my face on a couple of decks and I'm like I just like I yes, I'm on the team. I'm not really, but it's a great opportunity to like to talk about like your director just won at this film festival, like really highlighting everyone's assets that they're bringing as artists.
Well, so yes, I think it's if you've got a name, obviously
hmm
that page is more money. But
Right.
I actually think that it's important to have the page with your team because you're asking people for money without anything to show that you can make it back. And so
Yeah.
if you have a page that shows these people have made this many films and these people have made this many, like showing your little bit of resume, because they, you could just say Scarlett Johansson's attached to this and they don't need to see a page with that. But
Right.
like they probably want to know who you and
Who
I
else?
are a little
hmm
bit more, and they need a little bit more of a breakdown than they do for Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
So it's like in the middle it probably doesn't matter. I've made 10 films and they've done various things, but on your first one, they want to make sure that you're not just throwing money at uh,
Yeah.
so I do think that page is actually very important for
Adorable.
first
hmm
timers.
Yeah, for first time. Yeah. And then after that, just don't forget in your summary to write to put your email address on there, your phone
Mhm.
number, how people can get a hold of you. It's like turning in your test in fifth grade and not putting your name at the top of the page. Like you want to get credit for, you want to be reachable, be easily reachable. If you are seeking investment, because they may look at this the first time and go, great, awesome, and they think about it for a while and then later come back to you. So make sure it's easy for them to find you again. And that's pretty much the sum up of the Ben Yenny's perspective on a deck for an independent financing uh approach at this. Natalie did find this amazing deck and we will link it as well. And I'm like searching, I can remember Hunter's Game is the name of the movie, and that's all
Mhm.
I can remember. And it's a
It was in an
solid deck.
email.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, it's in an email. We'll put it
Is
in
it a
there.
name all somewhere? I'll put it up for you guys. But it's a solid deck. It does all of these things very, very well. And at the same time does what Natalie's talking about. It really, all the imagery they picked really evokes these great emotions. It gives me the tone, the feel, the vibe of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but
I
still
know what
conveys
film
all
they're
the
making.
information.
Yeah, I know what
Exactly. It's
film they're
so
making.
good. Yeah, it reminds there's another one I was desperately trying to find that I thought would be so fun. That was probably one of my favorite decks I've ever seen that does the exact same thing, but it was a comedy about finding Bigfoot. And it was so well done. Like they just the artwork was like explorer but funny, but there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
too much. There was just enough there to make me feel like I'm looking at the movie, but then there's also writing on there, but not too much writing, just enough for me to read a couple sentences and then I get to move on. It was they're well done. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll definitely link those for you to take a look at. They're definitely worth we'll link the Hunter's Game one, not the Bigfoot. I can't find it, and I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed to share that one.
No, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I saw that in the class, and I'm more so wanted to show it to you now, like because I was like, this is a really good one. But yeah, we'll link that for you get for you in our comment section and whatnot. So and then yeah, so that's what I've got for you on like the basic structure for independent investor decks. Natalie, I think.
I went and did some research on do's and don'ts, and a
Yeah,
lot
this
of
is what
this
I'm
is,
excited about.
yeah, a lot of this. I mean, it's really simple. It's a lot of that is just in your same build your deck conversation, but the biggest do is just to keep it simple. Like, do not overbog them with terminology that does
Mhm.
insider terminology and 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 number two on that is knowing your audience. Like, just if both of those things, if you keep it simple and you know your audience, you'll be on the right track right away. um I like, personally, I think telling your story, invoking the feeling of your film, like, you should be able to open a deck and know that it's a comedy. You should be
Mhm.
able, I mean, it'll say that as well, but I think in your verbiage, in your imagery, in your fonts, you should be able to tell that this is a comedy, or this is a horror, or this is suspenseful. And that's what I really liked about that Hunter's Game. Is that what you said it was?
I'm pretty sure that's the title. I
Yeah,
remember Hunter's in there.
that deck, that was the big thing about that one, is that they had some black and white type forest behind everything, but very muted. But
Mhm.
it was eerie. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, there's like this eeriness to this, and I know what film you're making.
Mhm.
Um, show your passion, demonstrate enthusiasm and your conviction for your business. This is a sales pitch, and no one is going to buy from you if you're not excited about this. If you're like, well, it should be, and well, no, very like, sell it. Like, this is a sales pitch. Pitch it.
Mhm.
Um, show traction and results. So provide data and evidence to support your claims, and that's where you get the page that's the comps. And that's also where I think, your team, I think that happens in your team too, showing that you've had this amount of festival wins and this amount of blah blah, and people will see this, and you have this amount of viewership. uh, have facts in there to back up your claims, not like, we're going to show it to a shit ton of people, and you're like, okay, let's have some more information there.
Yeah.
um, Use visuals effectively. um, that's the incorporating images, charts, graphs, and whatever it happens to be. I think uh, if it's all just words on a page, people are not going to read that. But if
Yeah.
there's something visually that catches your eye, it makes you want to read those words. And I think that's where you need to find the fine line of, how do I have enough words here to tell you the story that I'm trying to tell on this page, the log line, the synopsis, the whatever it happens to be, without you just going, ooh, bunch of words, and moving on to the next screen. So what can you do visually to make people want to read that screen? Um, a clear call to action. And I think our deck might be missing this.
Oh, okay.
I think we need, like, no, we want your money. Like, not
Yeah.
just, hey, here's what would happen if you did,
Here's what we're
like, no,
doing. Yeah.
hey, give us your money and we will do this. Like, the actual ask. Let's put
Mhm.
the ask in there.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I like that.
I think actually this is the biggest one. Proofread carefully,
Oh my
and then
gosh.
proofread again, and then proofread again and again and again. Always be proofing,
Always
because
be proofing.
one spelling error in the wrong spot in your deck can, I wouldn't give money to that. Like, I'm like, they're not going to be good stewards of my money.
Mhm.
They are not going to responsibly. They're not taking this seriously. So you can get away with a typo or a spelling error, but don't. Just don't do it.
Try not
Um,
to. Yeah. Do
yeah.
your best to avoid that.
Be honest and transparent. Do not like avoid exaggerations and unsubstantiated claims. Like do not like don't lie.
Mhm.
We know we have distribution at such and such. If you do not have distribution at such and such, do not make that false claim.
Oh my
That
gosh.
is
Yeah.
let's see, that was the do's. So it's basically the don'ts also, because basically the opposite of all of those is the don'ts. But let's see if there's anything else in here. Yeah, don't use jargon or abbreviations. Don't overload with text. Too many slides. Like, do
Yeah.
what you gotta do. Don't
Get it
get in and
down.
get out. They don't have time for your
Yeah.
BS. Don't be boring. Hey, if you can avoid it, don't be boring. Don't include confidential information. That's a big one. Like
Interesting.
anything that requires an NDA, don't put it in
Oh,
there.
uh-huh. Got you.
That is not this is
That's not
surface
what this
level.
is for.
You can offer to send more info like the script. The script is
Yeah,
not included because that script requires an NDA. So
exactly.
that is something that you can script available upon request or such and such
Yeah.
available upon request. Um, don't include anything that they can't tell someone else or that they can't share this deck and show it to someone else. They
Hmm.
should not have to sign an NDA to look at your deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
This is
that's
this is
and then
not
again,
about that.
don't forget your name and your logo if you have one. Don't forget your contact information.
Yeah. Good
That will
Lord.
be
Yeah.
very sad for you. I
You're like,
have
I
this
want to
beautiful
give you
deck.
the money.
Exactly. I can't find them.
I can't, ugh, I can't tell you how hard it is to find people sometimes. I'm like, and they're actors or their Instagram account is private. And I'm like, I understand, but I want to hire you for something and I can't get a hold of you. Like,
Yeah.
please just be, if you want to be in this industry, like just be reachable. Make it easy to reach you. And then if you get to a certain level, then you could be not reachable. But like if you're
Hmm.
trying to get jobs, please be
Yeah.
reachable so I can find you.
So someone just said in the comments that non-disclosure helps keep the concept though. And I do agree there is a time for a non-disclosure. However, a lot of places will not even open your deck if they have to sign a non-disclosure because that means they're now more worried. Like a lot of places aren't going to take things unsolicited.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
studios don't take scripts anymore unsolicited
Right.
because that puts them in jeopardy of
Hmm.
having stolen your idea. So they just don't accept
Yeah.
them anymore. So if you put a non-disclosure on something, you are running the risk of not getting in front of people. So might as well just not put your info anything in there that's
Right.
proprietary and have your copyright already.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Right.
like,
Yeah. But already be copyright. Yeah. When I was an executive assistant, one of my one of my jobs was to not open anything that was emailed to us and respond with a, we're not going to look at this. We're not going to take a look at it. This is not the channel to do this. Like that's, you don't want to, you're not going to be able to get through if you have to like if you're putting up
mm-hmm.
barriers to be seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really solid advice. I think it's also important. You were talking about keeping it down. There's a time and place for longer decks. And it just all, again, depends on who your audience for the deck
Mm-hmm.
is. Who are you talking to? And that's going to, there are so many, the outline that I gave on a deck isn't the right or wrong way. It's just a way to do
Mm-hmm.
a deck. There are so many different kinds of decks depending on what you're doing. So like if I was making a deck to reach out to a producer, which you and I have done before, that deck is going to look very, very different than my business deck. So my producer deck is going to have some of that information, but it's going to be way more on the artistic side.
Mm-hmm.
A longer deck, like a director's lookbook, which our director is currently working on a director's lookbook. There's been a couple of times I've done some jobs for people where I've created a deck for them and then they've gone in and changed the deck and the decks sometimes when I go look at what the new version are so long. They're like 50 pages worth of stuff. I'm like, that's that's a great deck if you are wanting a lookbook or an artistic piece or I've seen some printed copy books that are
Mm-hmm.
just gorgeous decks. But that's again, know your audience. That deck is not gonna an investor's gonna zone out. It's too much. Keep it concise.
I think on that same note, it's where you are in the pitch process for it. So
Yes.
the reason you have a log line is because that's your foot in the door. The reason
Yeah.
you have a synopsis is because that's the next question. The reason you have a one sheet is because that's the very next thing they're gonna like. You're not like when they get to the pitch deck portion of it. There may be room for giving them a shorter
Hmm.
pitch deck just to get them interested, and then a
Yes.
longer pitch
A
deck,
longer one.
you
Hmm.
know, more detailed.
Yeah.
There may be people who just want to see the visuals and the synopsis and are not interested in those last 5 pages of return on investment and stuff like that. They
Right.
might just want to
Absolutely.
go, what, tell me about your project. Oh, well, here's a 4 page pitch, like here, I mean, more of a one sheet or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
something very simple so that they can grasp the concept,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
gauge their interest to even look at a full pitch deck
Oh, yeah.
that, again,
Yeah.
shouldn't be that long.
When I was pulling together a bunch of projects for rom-coms, it was all they wanted from me was logline and a one sheet. That's all they
Mm-hmm.
wanted. And they're like, don't do any more work, don't do it outline, don't do anything until
Mm-hmm.
we get past the one sheet log line part because it's just not gonna be worth the effort if there's nothing there. And then the next step was the outline. And that
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more in the studio process too, is like they're at some point go, okay, give us your show Bible, which is just a very big long deck, essentially. It's way more of that director's lookbook with a lot more writing. So like it just know the audience and what you're specific going to. And this goes back to what you said episodes ago of like, what is your objective right now? Like what are you trying to do and who are you talking to specifically? You may make 10 different decks in the
Mm-hmm.
same point in your filmmaking process for the same project, depending on what you're doing. And that could be 10, you could make five in the same week because you're doing five different things for five different people and you're pulling
Right.
different pages together.
Yeah. So I think more clarification there. It's not that you're starting from scratch and building another deck. It's just you're
No,
putting
yeah.
together a package that has different pages. So
Hmm.
you're going to do all of this anyway, but you might be sending just your first 5 pages to someone
Right.
and your contact information. Uh, that's the
And
last
you're
page. I need the
over and
first
over again,
four,
your
and then I
contact
need the last
information.
one. Always include that one. But then
Yeah.
there's someone else who's like when you're trying to get investors or whatever, and then you're
Hmm.
getting closer to that. There, there's going to be many layers of what you need. You don't need to start from scratch while building these. Now,
No.
I will say that sometimes you might want to though. Like if you know that like someone is much more serious and they're not going to like the like our deck, which we will show you in the we're going to stay after for the credit cookies if you want to. We're going to pull our deck up for our current project.
Hmm.
um that that has a lot of little quirkiness to it because we're trying to get the essence of the film across.
Right.
But would I necessarily send that to all investors? If there was a big boy investor, would I want the little doodles on the side of it? I don't know.
Did I?
Like,
Depends on
I
that.
might,
Depends. Does he have daughters?
yeah,
Like totally depends.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so like there's like a variety of different kinds of decks. There's, show Bible decks, marketing decks where you're like really leaning on like how are we going to market this thing after the fact. There's, an investment deck versus like a business deck. Like the investment deck is way more what we were talking about earlier, the Benyeni version. A business deck is way more financially comprehensive with way more projections, way more
Mm-hmm.
details about like we think this film will make this money at this point in time. And I think that's probably like not a first time feature filmmakers thing because you don't really have the data to know that, but like
Yeah.
that's a variation, but you don't need that right now necessarily. You just need to understand the basics of decks and like knowing what kind of deck you need for what person. And I think a lot of us are going to follow this investment deck or
Mm-hmm.
and like the more artistic deck that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll just harp back to just don't be boring.
Don't
Just don't be boring.
want to
Like,
ruin life.
no. Yeah. I had something else and I lost it. I got
Oh
lost in
no.
the
Well,
don't
I
be
think
boring phase of it.
the thing that you and I have always said, and this goes back to every sketch, every YouTube video, don't ever take advantage of someone's time. You do not, time is everyone's most valuable piece, and never take it for granted that you have their attention.
Mm-hmm.
So take that attention that you're getting and use it wisely and get in, get out. and don't be boring in that get in, get out process.
Yeah.
Be funny, great, and amazing, and then go.
Oh, the other thing was the other kind of deck that the only time I think you might be just like revamping your deck entirely is if you're looking for finishing funds.
Oh yeah.
So if you've already filmed most of it, you are going to revamp that deck to show what you've done
Yeah.
and what um so there's this famous story with Hoosiers. They only had Gene Hackman for so long, and they filmed the whole thing, and they got into the editing room, and they're like, this doesn't work. This scene, there's like a entire scene missing. And Gene Hackman's like, I'm not going back out to Indiana and filming. He's like, I'm done. We filmed it, blah, blah, blah. So they showed him the entire edit that they had right now with the missing scene. He's like, I need this scene to make this film. And I think they had the script for it too. They sent this to him, and he was like, I'm on the plane. Because it's I don't know if you know Hoosiers very well, but the scene where he's giving the pep talk in the locker room, which is the
Uh-huh.
greatest scene in the entire movie.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, that wasn't in the original. And they didn't film it when they filmed the original. And they didn't have any more budget. So they were like, Gene, can you come out? He's like, I'm not coming back out. Like, you got the film. We did it. We filmed everything. I'm not going to pick up a new, and they're like, this is what we have. This is where this would go. This is what the script is. And he was like, I'm on a plane. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think the best scene of Gene Hackman's life actually was
Yeah.
that moment. So
I'm a god. Like, I wish you
yeah.
podcasters couldn't see the absolute jaw drop face I was making the entire time she's telling this story. Like that, yeah.
So relating to if you're trying to get finishing funds, like
Mhm.
show them what you have. Like,
Yeah.
here's this. The guys were so close. This is the imagery. We got this. It looks this beautiful, blah, blah. And then we just need some more editing money.
Mhm. We should see. I have a feeling that you and I in this process, we may go into a finishing funds process. Possible. I don't know. We'll see. It's the
Yeah, we'll
first
see what
time filmmaker
happens.
process. I think it's a very real possibility. So yeah, decks. Decks are this whole new world. Like I haven't had a deck that has been like wildly successful at getting funds yet. I have friends that have. I have seen their work. But this is our understanding as budding feature filmmakers understanding on what decks are, and
Hmm.
I think it's such a fascinating and fun tool. It's such a great merging of art and commerce. I love decks. I think they're amazing.
Well, and
Um,
as you can tell, even in our baby filmmaker brains, we don't even agree on all of this. Like,
no,
so our deck
well,
is going to be a push me pull you
oh
situation
yeah.
too.
Well, and I think that's the thing is like at the end of the day, there are no rules, and anyone who tells you there are hard and fast rules is wrong because someone will come along and break those rules and get the funds.
There's
What's up?
one rule. There's one
What's your
rule.
rule?
Include
What's
your
your rule?
contact information.
Oh yeah, that's the only rule. Okay, there is
There's one
one rule.
rule.
There is one rule. Include your contact information. Yes. No, but like I follow a couple of TikToker filmmakers and like people get in fights about the script writing or whatever, the rules of script writing. And like,
Yeah.
but yeah, but this guy broke those rules and his movie got made and it's awesome.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, there are no rules. Now there are good pieces of advice and they're wise to
Guidelines.
follow them. There are
Hmm.
guidelines, but there are no rules. So if you're brilliant and have some other way, I mean, you're throwing a big roll of the dice, but it could work out for you. So you don't have to
Hmm.
follow these rules exactly. And there's going to be a push me pull me whenever you're working with anybody else, even your dear friend of 20 years. You will disagree with on these
I feel like you
points.
might disagree more when it's your dear friend of 20 years.
Probably. I think it's a little harder when it's your dear friend of 20 years. Anyways. So we have a deck, and this is something we don't talk about very often, but we on this show, we do a credit cookie that comes after the credits, and we're going to show you guys the deck in the credit cookie of this episode on YouTube. So hang out after the credits roll if you'd like to see where we're at with our deck. We're happy to show it all, show all the how
The
the
work in
sausage is getting
progress.
made. Yeah, the
The
work,
work
it's a
in
definite
progress.
work in progress. We're
We're in
happy
the
to show that to you
proofing.
guys.
We're in the proofing phase of that. We've got a
Proofreading. So
deck.
if you see something,
Oh my gosh. Actually, I started to tweak the deck yesterday. Like I
yeah.
was in there, I was like, went to proofread, and instead I started adjusting font sizes. And I was like, what
Oh
am I?
my
I
goodness.
know. I was like, just get,
Yeah,
get out
no,
of here, Natalie. Walk away.
yeah, so hang out for that. We're gonna do a little credit cookie after the thing. All right. And I think that that brings us to my favorite portion of the show, which is the Abby Singer shot.
Oh, yeah.
I
Abby
think we're
Singer
there.
shot of the day. This is your
Of the day.
vocab of the day brought to you by Studio Binder. Uh,
We love you, Studio
um,
Finder. Call us.
so this one is L cut. The letter L cut. Do you know that? Have you heard
I
that?
do not know this one. Tell me
Okay.
everything.
Also known as a delayed edit. Have you heard it as that? No.
No.
Okay. Have you heard of it as a J cut?
No, I know nothing of
Hold
this
on.
world. Tell
One
me.
more. It's
Wait,
called
one more.
a split end. Have you ever heard? Not like in your hair. It's called a
Nope.
split end. Okay. So
No.
it is an edit used in digital film, because not on film strip, in digital film, that
Okay.
refers to a transitional edit in which the video and the audio do not begin simultaneously. Audio begins before or after the picture. Now, we do that a lot in like
Oh,
dialogue, but this is
yes.
specifically referring to transitional shots where that happens. So there's one that kind of, I'm not actually sure this happens, but what stands out in my brain, I think they do this in Shaun of the Dead, where like
Okay.
the bell for something else is ringing for the next morning and you're staring on his face, and then it cuts over
Yeah.
to like you start to hear the next scene before you leave the image that you're on,
It's
or
my
vice versa.
favorite.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's my favorite editing move. I love when I notice them.
Hmm.
I didn't know there was a word for it. I'm so
Well, there's a
excited.
lot of words for it.
There's a
L
lot of words
cut,
for it.
J
I
cut,
love
delayed
that.
cut,
I
split
love
end.
when you hear the dialogue for the next scene over the like the moment of the
Hmm.
last scene. Like it's just I don't know what it is about those edits that I'm like when they're done clever, when they're smart, like I'm like, "Ooh, that was good." Because I would
Yeah.
never think of it. My brain is so literal that like I'm
Hmm.
like, and now we're done with this and we move on to the next thing. And so for
Right.
me, I just think it's brilliant when I see people do that. It just makes me just like it tickles me so
Hmm.
much.
Well, we even, I mean, knowing it doesn't, I know it doesn't like naturally occur in your brain yet. Because I've seen with even our dialogue editing where I'm like, I'll go, can we hear you before we cut from my face? Like, otherwise it's very like bounce, 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 bounce. It feels ping pongy, but I love
Hmm.
it when you start to hear the other person or you don't cut away from someone's face,
Right.
but it's the same thing in a
Ugh.
transition. So,
Yeah. Yeah. My brain, like, I've been editing for, years now, but I do such linear editing that
mhm.
when I watch good editing like that, like, I have such respect for it. I love it. Oh, I love it. And I learned a thing today that's so exciting. This is why I love the Abby Singer shot. It's my favorite part because I don't know what's about to happen. And sometimes it's very exciting like that. All right, before we get out of here, I want to send out a thank you to Chicago Randy for PayPaling us some funds. Chicago Randy, there is no fund too small. There's no little bits. Thank you so much for sending us a PayPal. We appreciate you, and we've missed seeing you in our live chats. If you want to PayPal us some funds, do it. Go for it. All of those
We're
funds are going to
in.
be, we're so in. All of those funds are going to go to making Turns Out happen. We're putting them in a little bank account. We're saving them up. Super chats, also any super chats that happen during the YouTube, we're also going to be putting toward making the movie in a variety of different ways. Right now, we're submitting the script to film festivals, which is a very expensive process, but we're being very choosy and judicious about the film festivals we're submitting the script to. Like we're selecting hard, but that's where funds can go to. Is like
Hmm.
that's going to help us get the momentum going on the script and show that the script is of value so that we can get investors to invest in the project. So, and thank you to anyone who's already done the super chat PayPal situation. We appreciate it. You have no idea how much that helps. We were just having a financial conversation the other day, like, well, how much money do we want to put toward this? Okay, let's find the funds. We'll figure it out. So thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. All right, next week there will not be an episode. I know.
What?
We're taking a week off, just one little week off. No episode next week. We were gonna come back the following week with an interview. We're gonna be interviewing our producer, I think executive producer, uh,
Yeah.
Allison Moy
Hayhurst. Moy
Hayhurst.
Hayhurst.
Yeah. What happens in my head is I see her handle for Instagram in my
Hmm.
head every time I'm about to say her last name, and I have to take a stop moment to make sure that. So that's going to be next week's episode. We're going to be delving into our own specifics in the development process. And then after that, we're going to have another interview with another filmmaker. So keep coming back for more interviewee fun. And again, no episode next week. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for our extensive conversation about decks. I love them. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Hope our research has an impact in your life. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye. Oh, woody hoot hoo.
Woo woo. I don't know why, but doing the live stream is almost more nerve-wracking than anything we've ever done before for me sometimes. I get really nervous I'm like, do I know what I'm saying? No, you know what you're talking about, Sarah. You do have information about, like, you have filmmaking experience. You've done this stuff. You've taken classes on this stuff. You spent countless hours reading about this stuff. You know what you're talking about. Like, you're allowed to speak with authority. It's so,
yeah, and this
so
one I was
funny.
like, I got nothing.
Well, you've been a very busy woman. Natalie has been
I didn't
bouncing
have time
from
to do any research.
No, she had 3 different film festivals back to back to back. So you've been a very, very busy lady right now. So I was happy to like, oh no, Dex, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about this. I got opinions. I got thoughts.
I got opinions.
They may not be based in like I've received lots of funding yet, but I definitely have seen some things. It's like people giving you advice on YouTube who've never made YouTube videos. Like, you know what you should do to get more views.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah? What should I do? Anyways, thank you guys for staying after for the credit cookie. As promised, we are going to show you our deck. Give us a little technical second here. I need to all right, let me close another window real quick and we'll start showing you. Okay, great. We can show you now. So yeah, we have been working how long on this deck? Like a couple months at this point.
Well, yeah, but we've been too busy to actually work on it consistently.
That's true.
So
it's not
it probably
like
all adds up to 2 days.
I don't think that's necessarily true. No, and you took a lot of the brunt of really shaping. Like Allison did the structure, the beginning
Allison
structure.
did the information and the structure, and what she sent us didn't, to me, speak to our film. It was pretty, but it didn't say anything about our movie to me. So I went through and changed the art of it, the visuals of it. All the information is essentially still Allison's.
Yeah.
Which I consider to be the harder work. This was just making it pretty.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, like, oh, you did all the hard, you put it together. That's so hard. You're from scratch. And that's what I was doing for people for a while. There was what Allison did. I would do for other people. I would make the decks with the structure I understood. And then the ego blow of them taking it and changing every single thing that I did. But it makes sense because especially after you crafting it to look more like what our vision of the film is, like my ego feels a little bit better. I'm like, oh yeah, that really wasn't. But I was like, I knew that was going to happen when I was hired to do the jobs. Like I knew it was all going to go away.
Well, we had a hard moment when we first got the deck too. I was like, how do I go to Allison and tell her that I want to change everything?
Yeah.
Like, I think everything you wrote is fantastic. I love all the work you did. However, I visually don't see my story with that. And she was like, oh, absolutely. I don't care. And I was like, thank goodness. Because I want to dive in there and make this sticker, this little thing you see right here, which is duct tape.
This is starting on my favorite part. Like we decided, we ran around Natalie's house and we're looking at all of their prepper stuff and like deciding in our minds what this should look like. And my favorite part is that we wrote the title on well, this isn't actually written on duct tape, but it's like handwritten on duct tape as if this was a duct taped item in a prepper's storage unit. And that's my favorite part of this. And the happy face and the those are my favorite things about this.
Well, that was actually the first part of it. It was like I had this duct tape thing in mind, and then it was, I wanted it handwritten. I still might actually make this and then like make this and then cut it out. I mean, then put it in the computer and cut it out and then place it in there because it's still, to me, the fact that you can tell that it's a font on it bothers me. I kind of want it handwritten. But anyway, that's where the whole concept came from.
Yeah, and after looking at this for a while, there's a really good chance that this winds up being the artwork that goes on the finished feature film poster because I love it. I think it does all the things. for me
Hmm.
personally. All right, so this is our title page, pitch deck, who it's created by, uh, invoking the emotions right away, who's involved in it. And then we've got our log line. My other favorite thing is you drawing this log and pointing to it. Like, I saw that and I
I had to
cackle laughed.
I had to draw that in there too.
I
Like, oh,
love it.
that's the other thing. There's a lot of doodles in here that I might go through still and take
Redoodle.
a stylus and actually draw them.
Hmm. Oh no, don't do the log. The log is perfection.
I
Yeah, I love it. This is our log line. This is like a longer log line. This is probably more of a
think it's
synopsis.
okay though. I
But
think
yeah, exactly. I
it's
think
not
it's
a
fine.
synopsis though. It's not
Yeah.
long. Yeah, there's like this fine line, log line
Yeah, you're
being one
right.
line, and I
It's
think it's
somewhere in
not a log
between.
line for other purposes. It's a log line
Hmm.
for this purpose. And then
Exactly.
the synopsis is a little bit long, but actually kind of
Yeah,
needed.
here's ours. Yeah, and this is the much more in-depth version of the story, which is our synopsis here. So yeah, I do think that although that's not technically a quote unquote log line, I think it's what this deck needs, what
Right.
we want this for.
And you
Um,
can decide from that page if you just skip this page.
yeah,
Like you're like,
you
oh, I
could.
know enough from
I
that
am
page
I'm
that I
in.
don't need to read all this, or I'm intrigued and I do want to read all this.
The OCD. Oh my God, Jack Boot says the OCD in me wants to straighten the crease in the duct tape.
Oh, no, it's perfect.
No, it's
I love
perfection.
it.
It's what we
Now the
want. It's how
OCD
we
in
like
me
it.
is bothered by how these are spaced out here, but it has to be what it is, and I can't figure out
Yeah.
how to make it not that way. It is what it is.
Uh, this is our director, guys. This is Mike. Say hello to Mike. Mike, say hi. The picture of Mike. So yeah, we have a full page dedicated to our director. He's got his director statement, and I love the things that he says in this about like why this movie is important to be made. This is kind of the why this should be made portion, sort of like
Mm-hmm.
that. There's a paragraph in here about all of our collective psyches, about being in this place of we don't know what's going to happen next and what to do, but we're in a crisis. And I think that hits the nail on the head of like what this movie kind of encapsulates. It's like, well, something bad happened. We just don't know what. And
Right.
now we're trying to prepare for it. And I think I like this page for that. Here's our tone and mood board. Love it.
And I will say, like with it, so within the visuals, we're trying to show you that it's funny. I mean, that there's levity in a heavy thing. So like the tone and
Hmm.
all that like is very structured and very hard, but there's lightheartedness, there's doodles and there's whatever. And the same thing is true within the wording we've chosen for our synopsis and stuff
Hmm.
like that. It's very um akin to the script, I think. And that I
Yeah.
think so when reading this, you're getting a much better vibe of what the film is going to be about or feel like.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Our character page, our little Amanda and Karen's storylines. Amanda, I'm obviously Amanda. The much more we're switching roles in this one. Natalie is going to be the wide-eyed, positive, everything's going to be okay, optimist. I'm playing the no, let's be realistic. What are you doing? Stop making drawings on the walls kind of a person.
Mhm.
Our target audience, kind of almost we have comps later on, don't we? Maybe not.
No,
Uh,
that page did have it's the page before had it's odd couple meets blah blah blah
oh,
meets blah blah meets blah 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 at the bottom
mhm.
of it. But yeah, we don't have a real comps page, which
Yeah, okay. That may be something we wind up adding as we keep going.
hmm.
But yeah, I think Allison wrote this thing about the target audience. I think she's dead on about the kind of audience that we're going for, like character-driven storytelling,
Hmm.
existential humor. Like she nailed it. I read it. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. I want to change nothing about this.
Yeah, I think
I like what she's doing.
the next page would be the comps page if we had one. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that would
So we may go
be
back and
in flow
add.
wise. Yeah.
Right, yeah. We may add a comp space. So there's still stuff that we're like now after doing some more research stuff, we're like, oh, maybe we should go back and add and talk about this and change that. Again, it depends on who we're reaching out to. Like if we've
Hmm.
got a meeting coming up with a bunker company, we're probably gonna go back and redo this and add a page here or whatever. The why now, why this film? Again, this kind of reflects what I was saying about the existential dread that we've all gotten through with the pandemic and stuff. I think that's, making light of that is needed. Comedy is needed in the middle of our craziness. Our production timeline. I forgot this was in here until last night. I was like, did we do that? Like, oh, it is in there. So we've got a plan. And I think
There's a plan. This probably needs
there's
to
a
get
plan.
adjusted.
Yeah, it's gonna, and I meant to say this in the full podcast, but you don't have to, not that you're making it up. Make a real concerted effort to make a plan, but it's okay if it changes. Like
Hmm.
it's gonna change. But if you got the funding, next week, this would be the plan. That's
Right.
kind of what you're doing here. Like I always get arrested. I always get paralysis by analysis because I'm like, well, I don't know if that's gonna happen, and I have to remind
Hmm.
myself like it's okay to make a plan and then change the plan. Like there's nothing wrong with that in this part. So like when you're making this production timeline, it's okay to change the
Well,
timeline.
and I think it's okay for the majority of your deck distribution that you might not
Oh
even need this
God.
page.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that you have this if they ask for it. Oh, I can
Mm-hmm.
include that. I can,
Yeah. Oh, this person might want this page. Let's put that in there.
yeah.
Again, decks are so often like, oh, we're gonna pull this page from this thing and this page from that
Hmm.
thing and make this new deck. Our marketing plan. So we're talking about like what we're bringing to the table as entities. So Mike and Allison have already have their own feature film out there in the world. They come with their own um engine of movement. Like they've gotten into festivals, they've made festival friends, they've got that audience. Natalie and I bring a YouTube audience. You guys that we're talking to right now, like you're part of our audience. Part of our marketing plan is that we've all independently been working toward our own brand and becoming known in our own right, and that is part of like what we as a team bring to the table. Is like
Hmm.
we're not just fresh faces and no one's ever heard of us. We've all been working and hustling and doing stuff for years.
Right.
Like you and I's film festival relationships alone brings a lot to the table. Like we know a lot of film festival friends now. Getting a
Right.
film into a festival is the likelihood of it is higher than it's ever been before because we have this relationships.
And so, yeah, I think these both dovetail into each other. The team and the
And there
marketing
it is.
plan are very,
Yeah.
um,
Go hand in hand, especially for
yeah.
us. Because like again, like you were saying in the podcast, like it is important to show the investors like who we are and what we bring. We're not just, Scarlett Johansson, obviously, what she brings to the table. But what are we
Hmm.
bringing to the table as individuals? Like what's our engine that's happening behind us? Like if you and I booked, any television show with an arc, that's something, and we add that in because that's just adding to the we're a known entity. We're not just yes,
Hmm.
we're not a household name, but we are known.
Hmm.
Our companies. I love what Allison wrote for our. Sorry to say that so loudly. I love what Allison wrote for our production company.
Hmm.
I was because we. I have such a hard time summing things up. I think she wrote a really good Sneaky Pineapple Productions is a comedy-focused film and digital media company dedicated to crafting bold, character-driven stories with sharp comedic edge. Allison, so good. I read that. I was
It's
like, oh,
sometimes
thank
it's
you.
easier to write a bio for someone else. Like
Yes.
I always ask someone else to write my bios. I'm like, can you just
Oh
write
my
me a
gosh.
bio?
Yes. It's not because I'm lazy. The one part it is, but also like you see me in a lens that I didn't see myself in. And now that you've said it, I like it. Like that,
Hmm.
you and I are a digital media company. I never would have put the name company, even though that's exactly what we're doing. That's just
Right.
so bold and brave.
Hmm.
Here's our top of the line,
This
budget.
page, none of these numbers mean anything right now. These were
Nope.
placeholder numbers. This page is
Yes.
still 100% under
Under
construction.
construction. Yes. And that is okay. We're still doing and redoing budgets as information is coming forward.
So we haven't
Uh
even, these investor tiers on there, like those have not been really discussed. So
no.
that has to
No.
still be
That's
edited.
not
So
real.
don't
Yeah.
just start. I mean, if you want to send me 5K and you want it your to be official film supporter, I'm totally okay with
I
that.
will totally take that,
But
but
like that's not an official thing right now.
yeah, this is not what our film is going to cost. We don't know yet. Like that's sounds like a good number, but we don't know yet. I love the doodle on this page. This is my favorite also. The little
The journey. The
walking like,
journey.
yeah, join us.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, so cute and funny. Um, and I think like with when it comes to being you were saying it's important to be honest with people, like just being honest, like join us for the journey, but movies don't necessarily make money, especially
Mm-hmm.
baby filmmaker movies. Like being honest, like there's a terrible ROI on movies. It can be really good. You could have the next paranormal, but let's all be honest about it. And I think the things that we sell here are great. Being a part of an award-winning team, like yeah, that's legitimate. We do go out and do stuff. Is our information on here?
It
I
is.
can't see right now. Yay, look at
It's the
that. You
next.
can contact us. Is it the next
It's
one?
the next page.
Contact
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
The one rule is right there. Contact us. And thank you. And thank you. All
And
right.
more contact information.
Yep. And more ways to get a hold of us to give us your monies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How many
that's
pages is that?
so we're at 18 pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we can get rid of one of our title pages. I'm
Yeah.
not sure why we have two title pages.
I don't either. But I completely agree with you. Maybe it
Yeah,
was
I was just like,
options.
they were both, no, they were two different pages. They have different information on them.
Yeah.
And
We should
I don't
combine
know.
them.
I just kept what was there.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think we now have the information to go. We don't need that. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's add this. And I also think Allison and Mike would be so open and like, yeah, let's add that page. No, let's take that. Like
Oh yeah.
they're such great collaborators that I think they will be open to
She
our
took a template
suggestions.
and
Yeah.
and and filled in the information.
Yes.
She wrote
And
a synopsis. I didn't have to.
yeah, oh my God, I love her. I love her for it. Oh God, bless her. Bless Allison. I'm very excited about you all meeting her in 2 weeks. She is just a doll and a peach and like the most
Sh-
wonderful type A person I've ever met.
She
I
is
love
a
her.
peach. She's from Alabama, which I
Oh
know that's
yeah,
not the peaches, but I mean, like, she's got that
but
southern.
still, she's got
It
that
is Alabama,
southern.
right? I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's Alabama. She's the South, but you can tell
yeah,
once
she's
you
from the
know that
south. You
about
can
her.
tell.
She doesn't have like a drawl or anything, but
No, she's great. She's great, and then we love the work that they've done. Everything we've seen, we're like, that was we enjoy their work. So when they approached us and
hmm
we're like, whatever project you have next, we want it. We were flattered and so excited. So I'm really excited to have them. How was Kanab?
Kanab's so much fun. That is such a fun
Yeah.
festival. Yeah, it's it's Dubuque light.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
in the there's no dance party.
Hmm.
However, there is a party every night,
That theme party
and
looked
there is
cool.
oh, it was really cool. But they
Yeah.
also there was a film called Salt Cured Life, and it's a guy out of Key West, Florida. He's got a rum company, and it's
Hmm.
called it's Key West Legal Rum or something like
Okay.
that. Like anyway, because it was like the first legal rum distillery in Key West,
When
Florida.
you gotta put legal in the title of your
So it was yeah, it's
company.
clever. But he also I mean, having a rum company is like the least interesting thing about this man. Like he is like the unofficial mayor of Key West, Florida.
Oh my
But
gosh.
he sent and the big thing is that the rum is aged in salt cured barrels. So it's unique
Mm.
in that way. Anyway, he sent bottles of rum. So that's what we were drinking.
Well done. How
We were
was
calling
it?
them Eye of the Storms instead of Dark and Stormies. And they
Nice.
were
That's fun.
rum and ginger beer and
Mhm.
lime, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
It was good.
That's fun.
It was good. I mean, it was rum.
Yeah. I wonder if Brian's tried that one. I'm sure he has.
It's very
Good God.
small, and
Okay.
probably didn't have
Niche. Oh, maybe
distribution
not
anywhere else.
then.
Like so,
Yeah, maybe not then. Well, that's
but
fun. He goes out to
yeah, it was
Florida.
cool. So the rum was flowing the
Yeah,
entire
the
time.
rum was flowing. That's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. And you've already told me, but tell the people about the screening, how our in the event of
Oh
screening went.
yeah, in the event
Yeah.
of screened, I was terrified because Tara and I now not like we've never done this before, but like
I know,
I don't know
but it's
what about this one
fair
was so much scarier than
because of the
um
technicals.
may I put you on hold? I mean, not may I put you, maybe next year. Like we did
Hmm.
that one too. We got that one
Yeah,
ready for festival and I don't know
yeah.
why this, maybe because it's green screen,
I think
but
it's the green screen. Like, did it work?
it
Because I'm constantly asking myself, did it
was
work?
yeah, it was so scary to go into this theater, and I was like, what if the what if the technicals aren't right? I know what I wrote
Yeah.
comedy. I know what we filmed comedy. I know, like, but
Hmm.
I know what we have acting. Like, and there's always the, is this going to hit? Is it going to be funny, or are people going to go,
Yeah.
what the F?
Yeah.
I wasn't as worried about that because I was so worried about the technicals of it, and everything was
Hmm.
fine. It was a little saturated in parts, which we can go
Yeah.
back in and fix and stuff, but it got the laughs. It got all the laughs in all the right places, and that was fun. So,
Yeah. That's exciting. I'm glad.
all
Yeah.
although
I'm
I keep telling Tara that it's kind of weird. We're out there trying to make a movie, and our calling card right now is this stupid sketch. Like, yeah, trust me with your money. Like, I'm like, am I going
right.
to meet investors at the festival with this stupid sketch?
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, no, you
Yeah.
need to see Obit. No, you need to see
Go
this.
go
No, you
see
need to
Oprah.
see
Go see
that.
your other work. Yeah, we have other work. Like yeah, yeah. No, I mean, timing that is really hard. Right now, Ash, who did May I Put You on Hold, like there's a big she's trying to get her premiere settled. And I'm like, for me, we had this whole debate, she and I via text about like premiere status not mattering. And she's like, "Oh, I think it matters." I'm like, "No, it doesn't matter anymore
It
for short film." I mean, kind of, but
No, it
not
does.
like
It does for
um
certain festivals.
well, for certain festivals, but like it depends on if you think you're going to get into those festivals and in the time frame that you need to do. So for me, what I was trying to explain to her is like, that you're making a feature film by X date, and you need to because that's when this package you have is expiring. Like for me, I would be like using, and it's a good calling card. I would use this and get it into festivals to get out there to try and get investors and people and relationships built up to get that feature made next year. For
Yeah,
me, that's what I would be
there's a
doing.
fine line. It is like, yes, it matters to quite a few of the big boy festivals that you
The
are a
big
premiere.
boys. Yeah.
But even like Austin, you have to be an Austin premiere. Like,
Right. Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
it does, like, there are parameters that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
However, again, know what your goal is, and
Yes, that's it.
be realistic.
Be
Like,
honest
don't
with what your film is. Yeah.
I just talked to someone who their documentary was going to have its premiere at Big Sky, and they
Okay.
passed it. Their producer wanted to pass it up, or who, it wasn't their producer, whoever it
Oh, I
was,
think I remember
passed it
this.
up because they thought that they were going to, they had potential for Tribeca or something like that. And so they had to turn down Big Sky, which is a
Which is
huge
great. It's a
documentary film
great one.
festival.
Yeah.
So, and then they didn't get Tribeca or whatever it was that was
Yeah.
the one that they were shooting for. So now they're like, so then they just premiered. By then they were like, well, we'll just premiere wherever, like they
Yeah.
blew it. And I'm just like, do
Yeah.
not, like,
And
you
that's
can, when you're bigger, you can do that. You can play
right.
that card. You can, but don't, when you're, I take what you can get.
Right. I think that's kind of what my point and perspective is that like unless you've got a real shot, and I mean like it's not that your movie's not good and it's not that it's not made well. I mean your movie happens to be touching on the hot topic issue of the moment and it fits perfectly in with the mission statement of the film festival this year. Like Tribeca's really hot to like talk about transgender rights or whatever. Unless you're
Hmm.
falling into that category, I feel it's a really big gamble, depending on your objectives again, to wait on Tribeca or South by or Sundance to accept you when another amazing, perfectly good festival will accept you, like a JDiff, like they're gonna accept you and you're gonna have a great premiere experience and get the ball
Hmm.
rolling. Now, if you've got like you and I within in the event of there's no timeline for us for how long we're going to put this into a festival. We're not using it as a calling card to make the feature. It just happens
Hmm.
to be what's happening right now. Like it's like, oh, oops, we did
Yeah.
this
It
at the
just,
same time. So
right.
like our objectives are very, very different. But if you're objectively trying to make a feature film on the heels of this project, getting it going and getting out there so you can start making relationships with festivals, with people, with potential investors, like is far more important if you're not truly in competition for Tribeca. And that you got to have like a really not just a good movie, but like you're really saying something, and or you got a friend who can get you through the
Well,
the
yeah,
the
so like this,
swaths of people.
right. Like what if unless you have something that makes you stand out in the submissions, it's not gonna. So
Yeah.
like if you got a name actor in your thing, then you know
There.
what? You might want to hold out. You can
Yep.
it's more
Absolutely.
possible that you will get into Sundance or you will get into
Hmm.
Tribeca or you will get into South by. But if you don't and you're a hot topic, like
Yeah.
this is your abortion film. Um
Yes.
you know, like I get that for those, but if you just have a comedy.
If you have a wonderfully made, very good, well written,
If you just
well
have social
produced,
anxiety,
good act,
like
yeah, good
our film, we
acting.
were not going to try. We submitted to those.
Of
We actually,
course.
social anxiety,
Oh, right, that's
we
true.
didn't,
But like
but
I think there's nothing wrong with trying for it. Like there's been a
mhm.
number of films that I've been a part of. It's just a producer that I've been like, no, nothing wrong with trying for it. Go for it. But don't hang your hat there. Like also have a plan of like what I'm going to do. And again, it comes to knowing what your tryback or I read the word tryback, knowing what your objective is. Um doesn't want multiple submissions. Doesn't want you to submit twice. I know Sundance is okay with it as long as you change enough of the film when you resubmit. Because one of the films that I was a part of is we're going to resubmit with enough changes. Like I think that's worth trying for because it's got a
Why?
number of
I
the
don't think
check
that's
marks.
yeah. No, but the thing is, Tribeca and Big Sky both want to be a premiere. And so
Oh
that's
right,
what we were talking about with like having premiere status. Like
yeah.
Tribeca will show something that it's not their premiere, and so will
Hmm.
Big Sky,
Oh of
and so
course
will all of
they
the ones that
will.
require a premiere one will also
They will. Yeah.
make a exception for your film if it's
Hmm.
checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
But if you are a nobody, they want everybody wants premieres. I mean, even
Yeah.
smaller festivals will say that you have to be a premiere within that. Like Austin Film Festival,
They're
which
awesome.
is
Yeah.
all of Austin ones, you have to be an Austin premiere. And part
Hmm.
of that is getting butts in the seats. Like they need
Hmm.
to sell tickets to make their
Yeah.
money back. And in order to do that, you have to be a premiere. It's not even necessarily about the premiere status. So you'll see world premiere, you'll see West Coast premiere, you'll see East Coast premiere, you'll see like everybody
Yeah.
wants that. Like
Some
there's
some
tiers of what.
something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Some
not about the
some something.
prestige for the film festival necessarily. For them, it's about getting more people to come see it.
Butts in seats.
I
Yeah.
think mostly.
I think so.
For
Yeah,
you
that sounds
though,
right.
for you having the premiere status at those big festivals is a calling card. Like
Yes.
having a Big Sky premiere
Hmm.
for a documentary gives you a different level of prestige.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, and if you've got that project, try for it. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But you gotta be honest with what your work is. Like, you and I know a lot of you and I have long ago realized the fact that our comedy isn't necessarily going to play well on the coast film festivals, and we're cool with
Yeah.
that. We're like, that's great. That's not what we do, and we're not going to chase after something that's not us. I'm not going
No.
to chase it. I'm not going to chase getting my film to premiere at Sundance. Maybe someday I'll get lucky like I did with Miss Brown. I'll get lucky and I will just happen to be a part of a project that happens to fit. It just was a giant coincidence. But
Mhm.
me personally, I'm not chasing after the big five because I know the kind of stuff that I make isn't necessarily what they're looking for, and that's okay. Like I'm still gonna have a great career and probably never premiere at Sundance, and I'm
Well,
I'm
and
I'm okay with
the
that.
big thing there is, and I'm not going to let the waiting on that slow me down because
Yeah, that's
that's
it.
what we found. A lot of our filmmaker friends are elongating their festival year into
Mhm.
two
Yeah,
years because they do that first year waiting on they submit to all the
hmm
big boys, and if they
yeah,
get rejected from all the big boys, then they'll just throw it at the wall. And I'm like,
yeah. And there's
that's
nothing
fine
wrong with that.
if you're chasing
Yeah. And
that
there's
laurel.
nothing wrong with that. You can make that choice. I'm not ever going to look down on someone for making that choice. It's just not the choice I'm making because
No.
I'm already on the next thing. And I want to look at like when it comes to you and I's work, I want to look at what's the thing we made and how can we make that push the next thing that we're doing.
Hmm.
In the event of I don't know. We just wanted to make something fun. We
Yeah.
just had this really great idea and we just had to do it and watch it be the thing that somehow makes the feature happen. Like
Right.
it's gonna
Because
be our fight club.
it's so dumb.
So dumb. It's gonna be our fight club. We're like, we just made the dumbest thing we could think of because we just thought it would be fun. and there's like, I liked it. Here's $200,000. Like,
If that's
what?
the way the world works, I'm okay.
I'm okay with that. Well, you and I have had a lot of weird luck lately. So as long as really inconvenient things keep happening in Tara's life, like the wheel of her suitcase breaking and her forgetting her dress for the award show, like, and then immediately something good happens, we're good with this. So just I'm gonna keep stacking up inconveniences, like my
Yeah,
sewing
we've
machine
decided
not
that
working.
Tara's inconveniences are our um is what needs to happen. It's a sacrifice we're making so that our careers take off.
Yeah.
So,
Sacrificing to the gods minor inconveniences back to back to back to back to back to
yeah.
back so that good news keeps coming in. Anyways,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for taking a look at our deck. The very first time we've ever shown anybody outside of the quorum of us the deck is you guys. So thank you for looking at it and being so supportive. And thank you again to all of our PayPalers, our super chatters out there. You have no idea, like, you think just giving us a small amount is like, oh, just a little. No. Like every little bit you guys are giving us, like it's so helpful because you run out of money so quickly submitting to film festivals, going to things, like you have no idea. So never think that any amount you're giving us is too small. Thank you so much. We deeply appreciate you.
Hmm.
In my family, when things like that happen, we just say plot twist. Yeah, my life's been a lot of plot twists. Really small. They're not even plot twists. They're just plot
Yeah,
moments.
they're
They're not
they have
even
nothing to do with the
exciting
plot.
enough.
Yeah,
There's
they're not even
no,
with the plot.
it just
It's
winds up
just
me cackle laughing in the middle of the baggage pickup while my suitcase falls over. Like it's not even exciting.
it's
All
the
right.
C plot.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.